Hello, I'm Rowley and I'm a custodian of this beautiful woodland in the heart of Derbyshire, and this is video blog 168. Today I like to spend a little time talking about something that every living thing must eventually face, yet something that many of us struggle to discuss openly, and that is death. The woodland, of course, has no difficulty with the subject. Here, death is not hidden away. A fallen tree slowly becomes food for fungi. The fungi nourishes the soil, and the soil feeds the roots of the young saplings waiting beneath the canopy. Leaves fall, decay, and become the rich earth beneath our feet. Nothing is wasted, everything returns. Perhaps that is why I find the subject so fascinating. Throughout history, people have developed many different ways of dealing with death, each reflecting their beliefs about life, the soul, memory, and our relationship with the natural world. In recent years, there has been growing interest in something known as human composting or natural organic reduction. Instead of burial or cremation, the body is placed in a carefully managed environment with natural materials such as straw, wood chips and plant matter. Over a period of weeks, nature is allowed to do what nature has always done. The body returns to the earth, eventually becoming fertile soil. To some people, that idea may seem unusual, but when viewed through the eyes of a woodland, it feels entirely natural. Woodland burials offer a different approach. Here, people are often buried in biodegradable coffins, wicker coffins, or simply shrouds beneath trees, wildflowers, and open skies. Instead of rows of polished stone memorials, the landscape itself becomes the memorial. A tree grows, birds nest in its branches, and the seasons continue their endless dance above the resting place. For many people, there is comfort in becoming part of a living landscape rather than being separated from it. Some of the most fascinating burial traditions come from cultures very different from our own. The ancient Zoroastrians believed that earth, fire and water were sacred and should not be polluted by death. Rather than burying or cremating their dead, they placed bodies upon circular stone structures known as towers of silence, where the sun and the birds of prey completed the final act of returning the body to nature. For modern eyes, this may seem startling, yet behind the practice was a profound respect for the natural world and a belief that the soul had already departed on its journey. Many indigenous cultures and shamanic traditions also developed their own ways of understanding death. Across Siberia, Mongolia, parts of North America, and other regions where shamanic beliefs flourished, death was often viewed not as an ending but as a journey into another realm. The shaman was seen as a guide between worlds, someone able to travel between the land of the living and the land of the spirits. Burial practices varied greatly. Some communities buried their dead beneath earth mounds of stone cairns, while others placed bodies upon raised platforms, wooden structures, or within trees, allowing the elements and wildlife to participate in the body's return to nature. In certain traditions, the elevated burial reflected a belief that the spirit would travel upwards towards the sky world, where the body itself was returned to wider circle of life. What fascinates me about these practices is that they reveal a profound understanding of humanity's connection with the natural world. The body was not regarded as separate from nature, but as a part of it. Death marked a transition rather than a conclusion, a movement from one state of existence into another. Christian tradition developed a different emphasis across Britain. Churchyards became places of remembrance where families could visit graves, read inscriptions, and maintain a physical connection with those who had gone before. The gravestones became both a marker of identity and a statement of hope, reflecting beliefs about resurrection, eternal life, and reunion beyond death. Even today, many people find comfort in standing beside a grave, laying flowers and speaking quietly to those they loved. These questions are not merely historical curiosities for me, they touch my own family. My mother has often spoken about wanting a simple, natural burial. She likes the idea of a wicker coffin, woven from natural materials and being returned gently to the earth. There is something beautifully simple about that vision. Not grand monument, no elaborate ceremony, simply becoming part of a landscape once more. My father chose a different path. He was cremated after his death, and afterwards his ashes were scattered in places that meant something to him. Some were scattered in his garden, where he spent countless hours tending plants and enjoying the changing seasons. Others were scattered here in this woodland. Sometimes when I walk beneath the trees, I find myself reflecting on that. The atoms that once formed his body have long since disappeared into the wider world. The trees, the soil, the flowers, the birds and the woodland itself continue the great cycle of transformation. There is quiet comfort in knowing that a place he loved became part of his final resting place. What strikes me most is that all of these traditions, however different they may appear, are attempts to answer the same questions. How do we honor the dead? How do we remember them? And how do we understand our own place within the greater story of life? Whether through human composting, woodland burial, cremation, church-hold memorials, shamanic sky burials, or the ancient towers of the silence, each tradition reflects humanity's search for meaning in the face of mortality. Standing here amongst the trees, listening to the wind moving through the canopy, I can understand why so many Asian peoples believe that the boundary between this world and the next was thinner in wild places. Forests, mountains, rivers, and open skies often became sacred landscapes where the living could feel close to those who had gone before. And perhaps the woodland offers its own answer. Nothing is truly lost. Life changes form. The fallen oak feeds a sapling. The sapling becomes the forest. The forest shelters the creatures that follow. Everything is connected. Everything belongs. Perhaps there is comfort in knowing that in the end we too return to the great cycle that has been returning long before we arrived and will continue long after we are gone. So until next time, take care of yourselves, take care of one another, and take care of a woodland near you. So thank you for watching, and I do hope to see you again.